My loving audience take my love and subscribes my channel. And dive B&B stories. Think about this for a second. Was it really just a simple mistake Finn made? Or are we seeing the actual end of a marriage that never stood a chance once Sheila Carter came back into the picture? When Rich Forrester finally lost his cool in that Monaco hotel room, he wasn't just acting like a worried dad. He was letting out years of frustration on a guy who honestly might be too far gone to even see the mess he's made. You have to wonder, is Ridge really trying to help Steffy? Or is he just using Finn as a punching bag because he's watching his fashion empire get shredded by the Logans? This wasn't just a lecture, guys. It felt like a total character assassination. Let's look at what was happening in Monaco. It was supposed to be this amazing place where Steffy and Finn could fix things. They wanted to find that magic again, far away from all the shooting and the trauma back in LA. But instead it turned into something out of a horror movie. The villain didn't just show up, she was on the same flight as Finn. Honestly, think about why this happened. Finn is stuck in this weird psychological loop. He's torn between the biological pull of a mother he never knew and the promise he made to his wife. By keeping Sheila a secret on that plane, he didn't just hide a person. He basically blew up the trust that Steffy needs just to breathe. When Ridge started yelling at full volume, it was intense. He wasn't just being a protective father. Ridge's anger comes from feeling like he has zero control. He's watching his daughter fall apart right in front of him. But there's more to it. He was in the middle of a huge meeting with a client named Chloe. Then Finn just bursts in without knocking because he's in a panic. That move cost Ridge a lot. Chloe didn't just leave, she walked out because the company looked like a circus. Ridge's ego is tied to being the big boss at Forrester. When Finn ruined that meeting, he didn't just bring bad news. He broke the image that Ridge tries so hard to keep up. I really think Ridge is scared. If he can't protect Steffy from a woman with 8 toes, how is he going to protect the company from the Logans? The Logans are basically picking Monaco clean while he's dealing with family drama. My take on this? Ridge had every right to be loud. Sure, he's a hypocrite. He spent his whole life bouncing between women. But in this one moment, he's the only one saying the truth. Sheila is a predator, and Finn treated her like she was just an annoying person on his flight. And Finn's defense was just, well, it was weak. He literally said, I couldn't get her off the plane. It's like he thinks this is just a logistics problem. He really believed that booking her a return flight would fix everything. That shows you how deep his denial goes. He needs to believe Sheila is a better person because if she isn't, then his own DNA is tied to a killer. He's feeling this mix of panic and not being good enough. He was screaming for Steffy at a church because he realized too late that he didn't just lose his wife. He lost the moral high ground. He tried to explain himself to Ridge and Brooke, but it just made him look like he was making excuses for Sheila. Calling it a screw-up is the understatement of the century. The funny thing is, while Ridge is yelling about Finn ruining everything, he's ignoring the actual business disaster. Chloe was the last client Forrester had left in Monaco. Earlier that week, another major account, Lewis, already dumped them. And why? One word: Logan. Ridge was busy ordering caviar and calling it strategy while his rivals were flipping his board of directors. It's almost like Ridge is using Finn as a scapegoat so he doesn't have to face the fact that he's losing the war to the Logans. It's easier to scream at a son-in-law than admit you got outmaneuvered in your own boardroom. While all this shouting was going on in the hotel, Steffy was already gone. She didn't just leave the room, she fled the country. Imagine the pain she was feeling on that plane. She wasn't just angry, she was shell-shocked. She was sitting there guzzling champagne because she had to number herself from the reality that her husband chose his birth mother over her safety. When she threw that wedding ring at him on the beach, it wasn't just a dramatic soap opera moment. It was a woman in survival mode trying to save herself. She knows that as long as she is with Finn, Sheila is always going to be there, hiding in the shadows. And let's talk about Carter Walton for a minute. His life was imploding at the exact same time back in LA. His wife, Daphne, basically told him their marriage was a mistake and she was heading back to Paris. So you have these two broken people, Steffy and Carter, both losing their marriages within 24 hours. When a hammered Steffy stumbled into Carter's office, it was like a collision of two train wrecks. Carter is sitting there drinking straight from the bottle because he's lost his dream of having a family. Then Steffy shows up, crying and terrified. Well, think about it, when two people are that hurt and that drunk, what usually happens? Carter put his hand on her shoulder to comfort her, but you can just feel the tension. This is a soap opera classic. Grief plus tequila equals a giant scandal. It makes you wonder if this is the start of something that will change Forrester Creations forever. If Steffy turns up pregnant in a few months, who is the father going to be? Will it be the husband who let a killer follow them to Monaco, or the man who actually stood by her when her world fell apart? Ridge's lecture to Finn about promises is honestly kind of hilarious if you know his history. I mean, Ridge has spent decades breaking vows. He's been married to Brooke more times than I can count on both hands. He's waffled between her and Taylor forever. So for him to stand there and act like the moral authority is the height of hypocrisy. But that's Ridge for you. He needs to be the protector because it feeds his ego. He wants Finn to be the perfect man that he never actually was. Finn is currently in this state of manic desperation. He's planning to fly back to LA and make amends. But how do you make amends for something like this? He told Steffy he actually believes Sheila has changed. That's the ultimate betrayal. He's asking his wife to live in a state of hypervigilance just so he can have a relationship with a psychopath. It's incredibly selfish when you really break it down. He's choosing his own desire for a biological bond over the safety of his children and the woman he supposedly loves. Was this really just a case of two broken hearts finding a shoulder to cry on? Or are we actually witnessing the calculated destruction of the Finnegan-Forrester legacy in favor of a scandal so massive it will redefine the show for the next decade? When Steffy Forrester threw her wedding ring at Finn's chest on that beach in Monaco, she wasn't just ending a marriage. She was opening a door that Carter Walton was already waiting to walk through. But you have to ask yourself, is this new connection between Steffy and Carter a genuine lifeline? Or is it just a grief plus tequila disaster that's going to leave everyone involved in a pile of professional and personal ash? Let's really dig into why this specific collision is probably the most dangerous thing to happen to the Forresters since Sheila Carter first picked up a gun. We have to set the stage here, because the timing of these two marriages collapsing isn't just a coincidence. Honestly, it feels like a perfect psychological storm. In Monaco, Steffy's world was shattered. She realized her husband, Finn, wasn't just a victim of Sheila Carter's stalking. He was actually an active enabler who hid the fact that his biological mother was on their flight. Why did this happen? Well, if you look at it closely, Finn is suffering from a deep-seated trauma bond to a mother he never knew. It blinded him to the basic safety needs of his own wife and kids. While that marriage was burning down in Europe, Carter Walton was back in LA watching his own life turn into a total desert. His wife Daphne Rose didn't just leave him. She basically told him that their entire connection was a mistake. She said she couldn't give him the family he's always craved. This created a vacuum of worthlessness in Carter that perfectly matched the vacuum of betrayal in Steffy. When she stumbled off that plane, she wasn't looking for a new man. She was looking for a way to stop feeling like she was in survival mode. To really understand why Steffy acted the way she did, you have to look at the 8 toes trigger. When Sheila mentioned dipping her toes in the water, it wasn't just a weird comment. It was a psychological weapon. It reminded Steffy of every single trauma she's ever endured because of that woman. Steffy is currently in a state of hypervigilance. Her whole ego is tied to being the protector of the Forrester legacy. So when Finn sided with the woman who shot her, he effectively stripped Steffy of her sense of safety. Internally, Steffy is feeling a level of abandonment that goes way beyond romance. She feels like a prey animal whose mate just invited the predator into the den. By pulling off that ring and guzzling champagne on a commercial flight, Steffy is engaging in a rebellion of the self. She is trying to kill off the version of herself that is a wife so she can survive as a mother. I honestly think Steffy is 100% right to walk away here. How can you build a future with a man who thinks a sociopath just needs a bite to eat? Now let's look at Carter Walton. Why did he reach for the bottle the second Daphne walked out? Carter has been left at the altar, cheated on, and heartbroken so many times that his psyche is basically just a collection of scar tissue. He suffers from this classic savior complex, mixed with deep-seated inadequacy. He constantly picks women who are unavailable or unstable, because he needs to prove he can fix them to feel valuable. When Daphne told him she was going to Paris, Carter's internal monologue likely switched to, "I am not enough to make a woman stay." This makes him incredibly dangerous in this moment. He isn't just looking for love. He's looking for validation. When he looks up and sees a hammered Steffy Forrester wandering into his office, he doesn't just see a boss or a friend. He sees a high-status woman who is just as broken as he is. It's a moment of trauma recognition that bypasses all professional logic. The fact that these two are leaning on each other in the CEO's office at 2 a.m. is the definition of a beautiful disaster. I agree that they both deserve to be happy, but finding it at the bottom of a bottle while one is still married and the other is freshly single? That is a recipe for a paternity nightmare. This isn't about attraction right now. It's about mutual anesthesia. They are using each other to numb the pain of their respective splits. The sources tell us that Carter puts his hand on her shoulder to steady her. That is a classic soap opera gateway gesture. It starts as comfort, but when you add the cognac and tequila factor, that hand on the shoulder becomes the first domino in a total collapse of boundaries. We have to talk about the baby bombshell that everyone is whispering about. If the show goes through with a Steffy and Carter pregnancy, it completely changes the power dynamic of everything. A child between a Forrester and a Walton would create a new branch of the family tree that isn't tied to the Logans or the Spencers. For Carter, this would be that precious thing Daphne said he could never have. It would validate his existence in a way that would make him fiercely protective. He would likely become very hostile toward Finn. Finn would then be forced to fight for a legacy he already threw away for Sheila. It would be a battle between the biological father and the emotional savior. I think a Sartor baby is exactly what the show needs to get out of the Sheila loop. It raises the stakes because it's no longer just about who shot whom. It's about who actually belongs in that family portrait. We also have to consider the professional fallout. Ridge is already furious and screaming at full volume in Monaco. His anger is triggered by his own failure to protect his daughter and his business. Ridge is a control-oriented patriarch. When he sees Finn screwing up, he projects all his business frustrations onto his son-in-law. Ridge is terrified that the Logans are picking Monaco clean while his family is imploding. If Ridge finds out that Steffy is finding comfort with Carter, the man who is supposed to be the moral compass of the company, his world will officially tilt on its axis. He won't just see it as a hookup. He'll see it as the final surrender of the Forrester professional image. I disagree with anyone who thinks Carter is being predatory here. He is just as sloshed as Steffy is. They are both wounded and armed with a very good excuse to make a very bad decision. This is situational bonding. When the two most loyal characters on the show feel betrayed by the people they were loyal to, that loyalty turns inward toward each other. There's a hidden layer of spite here too. Steffy wants to hurt Finn for Sheila, and Carter wants to forget Daphne ever existed. Their intimacy wouldn't just be an act of love. It would be an act of erasing their past lives. The tension is about to escalate to a level we haven't seen in years. As Finn boards his flight to LA, convinced he can repair the damage, he's flying into a trap he doesn't even know exists. I predict that Finn will arrive at Forrester Creations in the middle of the night, ready to beg for forgiveness, only to find the door to the CEO's office locked from the inside. He won't find a crying wife. He'll find a woman who has already replaced his betrayal with Carter's loyalty. This won't lead to a conversation. It will lead to a physical confrontation that will force Ridge to choose between his son-in-law and his best friend. The consequences of this drunken mistake will reach far beyond a simple kiss. If the baby bombshell comes true, we are looking at a year-long paternity mystery where the DNA results are likely tampered with by someone like Sheila or even Brooke. Brooke has a vested interest in keeping Steffy away from Finn because it keeps the power balance in her favor. Brooke's silence in that Monaco hotel room shows she is just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. She's happy for her own romance with Ridge, but she will absolutely use Steffy's Walton scandal to push for a boardroom coup. Steffy and Carter aren't just a couple. They are a political opportunity for everyone else on the board. The most tragic figure in this is actually Finn, even with all the mistakes he's made. He is a man losing his mind trying to find a wife who has already mentally moved on. Finn's panic and his screaming at the church shows a man whose ego is completely shattered. He has no identity without Steffy, and without Sheila he has no history. He is halfway convinced Sheila is good because the alternative, that he is the son of a monster, is just too much for him to carry. Finn is a man without a country right now, and Carter is currently occupying the territory Finn used to call home. Let's talk about the love curse of Carter Walton for a minute. Carter is the most altar-jilted man in the history of soaps. He has a deep insecurity about always being the second choice. If he gets involved with Steffy, he's going to be constantly looking over his shoulder for Finn or Liam. This makes him an anxious lover. He will overinvest in Steffy just to prove he's better than Finn, which might actually end up stifling her while she's trying to be independent. I think Carter is drowning and he's grabbing Steffy like a life raft, but if he doesn't learn to swim on his own, they're both going to sink. The aftershocks from Monaco are just beginning. While the business wreckage is massive, it's the marriage wreckage that will leave the deepest scars. Ridge calling it a nightmare is an understatement. It's a total breakdown of the Forrester composure. Steffy guzzling champagne is her way of switching off the CEO brain, so she can just be a person who hurts. This sloshed version of Steffy is the only one Carter could ever reach. The professional Steffy would never have let him in. I really think Ridge is yelling at the wrong disaster. He's so focused on Finn's interruption while the Logans are literally looting his company. This shows Ridge's own psychological blind spot. He cares more about family optics than he does about the scoreboard. Ridge needs a villain like Finn so he doesn't have to look at the fact that the Logans are winning. He is ordering caviar while his kingdom is being sold off. Steffy and Carter's hookup is just the final sign that the House of Forrester has no one left at the gates. The tension is going to peak when Finn shows up looking for forgiveness. But the forgiveness won't come because the secret of that night with Carter will be the new wall between them. Every time Finn looks at Steffy, he'll wonder if he's looking at Carter's new reality. We are heading toward a boardroom civil war where this connection is used as evidence that Steffy is unstable. This will force a choice between Ridge protecting his daughter and Brooke protecting the Logan interests. Do you think Steffy and Carter are a soulmate pairing born from tragedy? Or are they just a cognac-fueled mistake that's going to end in more heartbreak? If that baby bombshell actually happens, should Steffy give Finn another chance for the sake of the kids? Or is he done for good after siding with Sheila? This is the kind of drama that makes this show legendary. If you want to stay updated on every single Monaco aftershock and every boardroom betrayal, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss our breakdown when the DNA results finally drop. I want to know what you think in the comments. Are you Team Shin or Team Sarter? Let's get the debate going. Thanks for watching and stay soapy. Think about how fast things changed for Steffy. Do you think Ridge is really mad at Finn? Or is he just mad that his sacred Monaco trip was a total bust? The Logans are winning the business war, the marriage is in ruins, and Finn ruined the last client meeting. It was a nightmare across the board. Ridge is yelling because his crown is slipping and he knows it. He has two wars now, one with Finn and one with the Logans, and he's currently losing both. So what do you think is going to happen next? Is Finn actually going to be able to convince Steffy to come back? Or is she already too far gone with Carter? If Finn walks into that office and finds them together, it's going to be an absolute explosion. And what about the business? Will Brooke use Finn's failure as an excuse to push Steffy out of power at Forrester? There are so many layers to this disaster. I want to know your thoughts on this. Is Ridge right to blame Finn for everything, or is he being a hypocrite? And whose side are you on, Team Finn or Team Carter? This paternity drama could be the biggest thing to hit the show in years. Imagine the reveal when the DNA test comes back. Could blow up two families at once. If you're enjoying this deep dive into all the drama, make sure you like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next update. I'm going to be following every single aftershock from this Monaco nightmare. Drop a comment below with your wildest theories. I love reading what you guys think is going to happen next with Steffy and Finn. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.